latest killer Lego set, shall we? Now, a couple of days ago, Lego revealed the brand new Loop roller coaster as part of the Lego Icons range. This is the second roller coaster that they've ever done, and it's actually the first one to involve an inverted loop. The whole thing is really big, really tall, really exciting, and full of a lot of thrills, but, you know, probably not for the reasons that you'd think. Now, initially, I really didn't think much of the set. I thought the whole thing looked really cool. I was a big fan of the color scheme. You know, it's not a set for me. It's too big, it's too giant, but overall, it looked really interesting. However, it was brought to my attention thanks to Adil on TikTok that this Lego set is actually quite deadly, dangerous, and just, I mean, like, overall, genuinely does not really follow the rules of physics. I mean, Lego City could have a completely different set to physics than we do, but really, if this roller coaster existed in life, yeah, it would be a bit of an issue. Which is why I want to refer to it as the most deadly Lego set ever. Now, I'm a really big fan of roller coasters. I really like going on them. I love theme parks. I've been on quite a lot. I'm still a bit iffy when it comes to, like, I guess, like super fast free fall drops or like really, really fast roller coasters that accelerate. But for the most part, I mean, I've had quite a fair share of experiences when it comes to G-forces and loops and roller coasters. So much so that there was one ride called Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain that's G-forces were a bit too strong when it came to this spiral at the end that I almost felt like I was gonna pass out. Which, speaking of passing out, this roller coaster design that Lego has come up with would do exactly that if this Lego set was to exist. Now, I've also watched a lot of videos on how theme park rides work and how roller coasters operate and things like that, and one thing I think you learn pretty quickly is that when a roller coaster is inserting a bunch of loops into the track, they have to be spaced out by a particular amount but also be a certain height in order to, I guess, avoid all of the G-forces that I guess your body would be put under. For example, I mean, if you've watched the latest hit movie Top Gun Maverick, which highly recommend if you haven't. The movie talks a lot about different G-forces and how your body needs to be able to withstand them, because under certain amounts of pressure, like, it will just do weird things to your body and you will pass out. Now, roller coasters usually don't get to at least like 10 G-forces. However, it can pull at around like 5 or 6 depending on which roller coaster you go to, which is why these things have to be spaced out a particular amount and also be of a certain height. Which, if we take a look at Lego's roller coaster, they really didn't do that. These loops are incredibly close together, but also at the amount of speed, theoretically, that this whole like cart system and like carriage would be going at is insane. Now, TikTok, as fun and as entertaining and possibly cheesy as it is, it's also incredibly educational and taught me about this really morbid concept called the Euthanasia Coaster. So, you know, if you're not really good, I guess, with like morbid things, or maybe you like watching my videos with your child, I'd probably skip this one and leave now because it's about to get a bit dark. So here is the Euthanasia Coaster. This is a concept that I didn't really know about until several days ago when I initially saw this TikTok and I looked into it, and yo, I was shocked at how, I guess, similar that this whole diagram and this concept and this theory is, you know, close to the Lego roller coaster, especially considering, I mean, Lego is like a family product, very, I guess, just like really family friendly, like overly like cautious and safe. But then we accidentally made like half of the Euthanasia Coaster in a toy. I don't know, it's a bit weird. Now, I will give Lego the benefit of the doubt, considering I did not know that this thing existed, so very high chances that they probably didn't know this thing existed either. But the reason I bring this up is because of the way that the roller coaster works. The whole thing is designed in order to just people. And the whole reason it does so is because of physics, is because of using the G-forces, and just the way that this roller coaster is structured is in order to put a ton of force and pressure onto the bodies so that you wouldn't survive the other end. So starting off, we have the big drop. I mean, this is a really important aspect. Firstly, you've got to climb, and then you've got to drop. That's going to give you the amount of power, speed, acceleration, and really get you kick-started in the force. Firstly, in order to just make it around the loops in general, especially considering in the actual coaster or mock-up itself, you've got 7 loops. In Lego's version, we've only got 2, which is quite fortunate, and I will touch on why later. But that force and that steep of a slope is in order to get you the speed to go all the way around, which when we look at the Lego coaster, of course, you know, that makes sense to have a super steep loop if they want to do a double looped coaster, because, I mean, this is a toy. It doesn't have any power functions. It's got to have enough speed and force in order to actually keep the momentum going to make it through both of the loops. Otherwise, you know, it's not going to pass Lego's quality standards if this is what they're trying to do. So in Lego's case, that absolutely makes sense, but where things get really interesting is when it comes down to the loops that follow the ramp on both of these things. As these loops, I mean, they start off with one that's like slightly bigger, and then at least in the Euthanasia Euthanasia Coaster, they tend to get smaller as you go along, and that is so that more force and more G-force is put onto your body so that you can basically just be completely knocked out. However, at least in that version, that's not just the goal. The Lego version, however, because there are only 2 loops, one which is like slightly smaller than the other, that's exactly what that roller coaster would do. It would knock you out. The whole purpose of this first 2 loops is literally just to get you to pass out. The rest of them finish you off. So I hope you can see why the Lego roller coaster is now quite deadly. So yeah, theoretically a man could have been passed out in Lego City on this roller coaster. So let's just say gravity works different in Lego City for Lego's sake, and not the fact that I guess they just like accidentally made a roller coaster that if it was realistic it would knock you out. I mean, at the end of the day this is a toy, but it just then begs the question, I guess, like what other physics rules exist in Lego's own universe and sort of like just sub-theme of, I guess, Lego City. Because I mean, if advertisements have taught us one thing, it's that people can drown in rivers in Lego City, so there's definitely, I guess, an aspect of gravity and sort of, I guess, like water and like paddling and things like that, so that all exists. We've then also got, I guess, just different versions of G-force when it comes down to minifigures, I guess, and their roller coasters and things like that. We've got planes as well. One thing we don't have though, because of the military rules when it comes to Lego, is fighter jets, so I wonder if like that theoretically was to be a thing and we were to have like Top Gun style military Air Force like fighter jets, like what would the G-forces be on that? If minifigures can survive a double looped roller coaster, can like any old minifigure just like sign up for the Air Force, or like do they still have to be put through training? I'm really delving down like really far deep down this spiral, but yes, essentially Lego has made a quite deadly roller coaster. Admittedly, very cool Lego set, comes out in July if you're interested. However, just keep in mind, you know, if your minifigures were real and had feelings, might not make it through the ride. So in summary, I just find it incredibly fascinating that Lego's new roller coaster looks incredibly, I guess, like this concept art that was designed to do things that Lego really doesn't want represented in their toy product. Overall, the whole thing is just really fascinating, and I love roller coasters and looking into how things work. So, you know, doing this reading and like I researched is really fascinating to me, so I thought I would let you know and share it. Yeah, don't send your minifigures on this. They're gonna survive. So, stay safe.